Welcome to the Reality Revolution. Today, we have a wonderful Quo channeling, very recent, delivered on April 22nd, 2023, that covers a ton of interesting topics. Quo discusses everything from crystallization as it pertains to body-mind-spirit complexes, intoning Om in meditation, working with the elements, death in higher densities. It asks the question if Quo actually meditates, and an interesting question on simultaneous incarnations later on in the channeling, whether to serve within the world or find isolation and meditate on love and light. Quo is a group of highly evolved, advanced, higher density or extraterrestrial beings that represent the collective consciousness of multiple advanced civilizations as old as 3.5 billion years old. They are comprised of Ra, Hatan, and Latui. And each of these channelings have been a true blessing. I've learned a lot from them. The nature of the questions and the topics discussed I find to be incredibly powerful and have helped me on my spiritual journey. You can check out previous episodes for further details on Quo and who they are and where they came from, but to me it feels like angels are talking to me. We begin with Jim channeling. I am Quo, and we greet each of you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We thank you all this afternoon for joining together in your group consciousness to present to us queries that we may be able to help you move further along on your spiritual journeys. Before we begin with the queries, we would remind you that we are your brothers and sisters, and we are perhaps further along on the spiritual journey than you are, but we are not ultimate authorities. So then we would ask you to consider the words and concepts that we offer to you today with your own personal discrimination. If there are any words or concepts that do not ring of truth to you at this time, please do not consider them necessary to keep. Set them aside. Use only those that have resonance with you at this time. That will allow us to speak more freely. We do not wish to place any stumbling blocks within your spiritual path. At this time, we would ask if there is a query with which we may begin. Yes, Quo, can you please speak to the nature of crystallization as it pertains to body-mind-spirit complexes such as us? What does it mean to crystallize one of the energy centers, or to say that a person is crystallized, or that a marriage is a crystallized relationship? I am Quo, and I am aware of your query, my brother. This is an interesting query, for crystals are a type of intelligence of intelligent infinity, which have been, shall we say, solidified in a certain way which allows them to reflect the intelligent energy of the one infinite Creator in a certain manner which may be used by entities to help in the healing and evolutionary processes that is unshakable, shall we say, strong, sturdy, and reliable. If this is applied to the energy centers, or to a marriage, or to a relationship, or in any other manner of a spiritual nature, you may consider that, for example, the energy centers have an ability to allow greater prana or love light of the one Creator to move through them in a fashion that is determined by the activation and the balance of the energy centers. As each energy center is able to allow this prana to move through it without blockage or distortion, there is the intense and increased activation and representation of each energy center's ability to share a greater and greater amount of the product of the one infinite Creator. The lower energy centers of the red, the orange, and the yellow have the ability to speed up this rotation of the prana of the Creator so that they are able to move it higher into the energy centers of the green, then the blue, the indigo, and the violet. From the green through the violet, there is not only the opportunity to speed up the vibrations that are allowing the prana to express itself in greater and greater manner of beingness and perception of the quality and nature of the spiritual journey, but the higher energy centers are also able to become what you have called, and we agree, crystallized. The crystallization of the higher energy centers allows a certain standard of excellence, shall we say, to be manifested in these energy centers so that they are able to not only increase the quantity of energy of the prana, the love light of the Creator moving through them, but the quality of this prana. This type of crystallization, then, is that which expands in a manner which is more like an exponential equation, not being only the doubling effect or the arithmetic effect of the lower centers, but moving into that which can be considered that which is infinite in nature, that which has its qualities of being expressed that move into the area of limitlessness, of being able to reliably accentuate the prana of the Creator according to the nature of the energy center, so that unconditional love that moves through the heart center may be seen to be universal in nature, and also the freely given honesty of communication and inspiration of the throat chakra may find itself in the realms of the limitless as well, so that there is a great possibility of the entity experiencing itself as more and more of the one infinite Creator. The indigo ray energy center, then, is that what you have called intelligent energy. It is the gateway to intelligent infinity. It is the realm in which the ability to create changes in consciousness at will. It is facilitated in a manner which also is infinite in nature and opens into the seeker, the intelligent infinity, or the one infinite Creator in the violet ray, which has its beingness in the entire creation, so that there is the experience of the one infinite Creator that is possible of the seeker of truth at that level. Is there a follow-up to that query, my brother? Oh yes, Quo, thank you. Your standard of excellence is quite high with that answer. My follow-up is, are there qualities of an unshakable crystal or of prana that we can meditate on or visualize in order to manifest crystallization? Could one visualize colors, for example, or light? Thank you. I am Quo, and I am aware of your query, my brother. The use of the crystal for the purpose of moving the prana into the higher realms or energy centers is that use which may be facilitated in the meditative state, so that there is a relationship between the seeker of truth and the crystal in regards as to how the crystal is used and where it is focused. You may move seriatim from the lower energy centers to the higher in each of your meditations, so that there is the possibility of clearing any blockages or distortions from each of the entities. We correct this instrument from each of the energy centers that is of value to the seeker, in that there is then the opportunity, when blockages are cleared, to move to the higher energy centers. This is a process which can take a great deal of what you call time, for it must be blended in with what you would call the daily round of activities, so that as you move through your process of experiencing this third density illusion in your waking state, you discover that there are certain experiences that have more of an effect upon you than others. Anything that has an effect that is noted at the end of your day in your meditation may then be worked with. If the effect was deleterious upon your own experience, if it cast you in some state of doubt, or in some state of not being certain as to how the catalyst was presented, the meaning of the catalyst, and the process by which you may use that catalyst to further your own spiritual growth, then you would assign a certain energy center or chakra to the nature of the catalyst. Then with the crystal, begin to see and feel the nature of the catalyst that you have experienced, so that you process it as becoming a valuable part of yourself, whether positive or negative, so that you see more and more that you are a 360-degree being. You are the one infinite Creator. Again, as we said, there is a great deal of time and experience that must be undergone in order for this to be effective on the life of the spiritual seeker of truth. Is there a further query, my brother? No, thank you, Quo. I am Quo, and we thank you, my brother. At this time, we shall transfer this content to the one known as Kathy. We are those of Quo. Kathy channeling. I am Quo, and we are now with this instrument. We greet you all here today, and we thank you for coming with your spirits and your questions. May we ask if there is another question to which we may respond? I have one. G answered or asked my first question. That was exactly what I was going to go after. The second one is, I know Jay 2 weeks ago brought up Om and Aum, and it's something that I was familiar with, but that I had sort of put aside. My question is, when intoning Aum in meditation, does it make any difference whether you do it silently or whether you do it out loud? We understand your query, my brother, and we may respond. In one sense, we may say that it does not make a difference whether you say it mentally or out loud with your vocal cords, because the energy of the word of the concept of Om is conveyed through your mind as mental energy out into the space around you. The same as if your vocal cords spoken aloud are transmitted out into the air, atmosphere around you, and the energy surrounding you, or whatever the space you are in. And so it does have the same effect to be mentally spoken, as it were, or to be orally spoken. You are intoning that word, that concept, that vibration, and the vibration of the response back to you. However, we may also say that when it is spoken aloud, orally, and those noise vibrations go out, it is like the concept of sound healing in your density. When there is an audible sound that creates a certain frequency that vibrates more audibly, more in a felt manner in the atmosphere, it can create a resonance of healing, of unity, of harmony around one. And so we say that this is a different purpose of speaking it aloud if you plan to have or intend to have a kind of healing or harmony invoked when you say this word aloud. Does this respond to your query satisfactorily, my brother? Yes, thank you. And we thank you. And we are those of Quo. And we now take our leave of this instrument for now and transfer our contact back to the one known as Jim. We are those of Quo. Jim channeling. I am Quo. And I am again with this instrument. We would ask if there is another query to which we may respond. Yes, Quo, I have a question. I've recently had some desires, some experiences working with the elements, earth, fire, air, and water, in regards to healing. I'm interested in working with these elements to invoke healing of the planet and of the people on this planet. My question is, can you speak on the importance of working with the elements in regards to healing of the earth? I am Quo, and am aware of your query, my brother. The elements of earth, of wind, of fire, and water are the basic elements of which your Mother Earth is made. Before this was time, back at the beginning of this octave of creation, there was no solidified Mother Earth. There was chaos, there was light, and the dark, and the moving in an erratic rhythm. At some point, the earth and the water were taught by wind and fire to take shape, and to become what you now see as your Mother Earth, so the life might begin within the first density, and that life would be simple awareness. That life would be as the smooth waters of the sea. Then, as what you call time moved forward, there was the ability of this simple awareness to cause the creation of forms of life that had more than a simple awareness. They had that, which you might call a kind of consciousness, a self-consciousness that allowed the creation of Mother Earth's children, of plants and animals that can roam the earth and become inspirited, shall we say, after a great period, again, of what you call time. Within your third density, certain plants and animals have been able to become inspirited so that the mind-body-spirit complex then became the population that you now know of, Mother Earth. And yet she is created of all there is on your Mother Earth. As you seek to heal Mother Earth, it is well to work with the visualization of the basic elements of earth, wind, fire, and water that have progressed into their current forms so that they are surrounded by your healing love and light that you send in an intentional manner with the purpose of healing to the various elements and the population of the plants, the animals, and the people of Mother Earth. This is a process which recognizes that the power of love which has created the entire universe and condensed it into light is that of the one infinite creator, and that you are assisting the healing of Mother Earth, as the one infinite creator is a portion of your own being, of Mother Earth, and of all of her population. This is a process by which you may give this love and light back to Mother Earth, as food for growth and healing. This is a practice that you might consider on a daily basis within your meditative state, and to begin that practice with the intention of healing of Mother Earth, Thus you give your love that flows through your heart from the one Creator back to Mother Earth and help her heal from the great bellicosity of thousands of years and of her current population of third density. In this way there is the healing. And as more and more people engage in this type of process, it is cumulative in effect. That is to say, for each additional person performing this practice, the power of the practice is doubled. Is there a follow-up query, my brother? Not from me, thank you, Quo. I've got a question. Is there any particular order in the elements that should be followed with healing? I am Quo, and I'm aware of your query, my sister. No, there is no specific order. You may utilize the elements in whatever matter feels appropriate to you, for they are equal in importance, and there is no priority to the order in which they may be utilized. Is there a follow-up query, my sister? No, thank you. I am Quo, and we thank you, my sister. At this time, we should transfer this contact to the one known as Kathy. We are those of Quo. I am Quo, and we are now with this instrument. Is there another query to which we may respond at this time? I have a question. So you know, in third density, we have the death of this body, and I wonder if in the other densities, is there a form of death of like in fourth density of the light body? Is there death in those densities? We are those of Quo, and we understand your query, my sister. Third density bodies, as you point out, are most dense, for this is the density of physicality blended with mind and spirit. And therefore the physical vehicle in which the mind and spirit have their life, when upon this density in any lifetime, must exit the body in order to proceed to the inner planes of third density, where healing can take place for the mind and spirit, and the body be laid to rest according to the principles or customs of the peoples, and taking care of that entity's remains. And these customs, these forms of honoring each being as it lived within that dense physical body, are well known and well practiced upon your planet in various beautiful forms of honoring the entity as it was lived in that life. As entities progress into fourth density, there is a light body. There is a light body that continues in fifth density. These become, as you know, less and less dense. There is not the necessity for the death or cessation of the physical vehicle, such as is experienced upon Earth in third density as you know it. It is a different, we might say, kind of transformation of the light body vehicle as it progresses through the upward spiral toward the higher densities. As you know, or may be familiar, this process in the higher densities becomes longer and longer in terms of what you would call your years, or what you would call time. As the progression takes place, and the entity continues its upward expansion of growth into intelligent infinity, the light body changes. It becomes less dense, if you will, although that term is not exactly applicable in those higher densities. May it suffice to say, possibly, that as an entity progresses higher and higher in the densities, what body form is needed in order to house that entity, to be part of that entity, to serve that entity as it exists in the needs that it has, is a kind of transformation of light, and not similar to the death of the physical vehicle here, but rather a transformation of light as the entity proceeds in its expansion and its growth. We may say that it is difficult to translate into third density wording the kind of answer we feel you are seeking regarding the embodiment in the higher densities. But we may ask you to imagine a light body becoming less and less material in its light form, more and more transparent, if this may suffice to describe the changes that take place with embodiment in the upper densities. Does this give a somewhat satisfactory answer to you now, my sister? Yes, I almost see it as the crystallization question earlier, and how crystals can have some coloring. The more pure they become, the more clear they become, so I see that vision with it. Yes, thank you for your query, and we may ask if you have a follow-up query to this discussion. I do not, thank you. And we thank you, my sister. At this time, we may take leave of this instrument for now and transfer our contact to the one known as Jim. We are those of Quo, Jim channeling. I am Quo, and I'm again with this instrument. Is there another query to which we may respond? Quo, may I please ask, do you meditate? If so, what do you meditate on? Do you do a silent meditation? Or do you send love and light or other energy? Or do you create a visualization? I am Quo, and am aware of your query, my brother. We of the principle of Quo have the practice of experiencing the nature of our reality in what you would call the meditative state. That is, we feel and see and attempt to become the one creator in each moment, for we know that this is the source of our beginning, the final expression of our ending, as the entire creation coalesces into the one infinite creator. We are aware of this process, that each entity within the densities beyond your own third density partakes in a greater and greater measure, shall you say, or shall we say. This is something that we are most grateful to be able to experience, for it is that experience of the one infinite creator that all of the portions of the one infinite creator seek as they move through their own spiritual journeys at their various levels of experience. This is a kind of beingness which expands in what you would see as an outward and inward state at the same time. This is the place where there are paradoxes that are resolved, so that we become that which we seek. We express that which we have become in a manner in which we can utilize words, images, feelings, thoughts, and therefore be able to expand our ability to perceive and share the one infinite creator. Through these meetings we have with your group, we are able to utilize the feeling of the unity of the one creator in a manner which is described in what you call words, or what those of Ra called the sound vibration complexes. The vibrations which we use as words are a kind of solidification of meditation, you might say. This is a practice which each of you shall indeed be able to experience as you move forward in your own spiritual journeys into the fourth density and beyond. Is there a follow-up query, my brother? Would you suggest that we learn from your description of your meditation and pursue this type of meditation ourselves? I am Quo, and I'm aware of your query, my brother. We find that this would be a very helpful practice. However, it is one which requires that one be able to utilize the current meditation practices in a manner that accelerates the meditation, in a manner that includes the visualization and the ability to not only visualize, but to feel and become that which is visualized. This might be something that is beyond the capacity of most third density entities, but we do not say that it is impossible. It is something that might benefit one by simple attempt at doing such. For the attempt based on intention is that which creates one's reality in the metaphysical sense. So we would encourage you in your own way to do this if it feels appropriate to you. Is there a further query, my brother? No, thank you. I will give this a try and report back to you. I am Quo, and we look forward to your report. At this time, we shall transfer this contact to the one known as Kathy. We are those of Quo. We are those of Quo, and we are now with this instrument. We may ask if there is another query to which we may respond at this time. I have one. There is a medium who talks about our soul energy. He defines it as like a sun with many rays, and that really our soul energy can be embodied in many at one time. Is that an accurate statement? We are those of Quo. We understand your query, my sister. We may address the idea of terminology where it may help to understand the concepts of soul, spirit. If we understand your query correctly, the soul is the central part, eternal being of the being, the entity which is carried forth through all lifetimes, across all lifetimes, and into the higher densities. If we understand that to be your conception of it as well, the spirit then would be the spirit that is part of the body-mind-spirit complex of a particular entity in this density. The spirit then combining back with the soul energy of that being upon the death or of transition of the entity from the earth plane to the inner planes of the earth. Beginning with that description, we may say that the soul is, it could be said, larger than, more expansive than, the part of the soul that is within the body-mind-spirit complex of an entity upon earth at this time. There is a portion, if you will, although it is not exactly divisible in quantifiable terms, as we might see that one would need it described. But a portion of the soul can reside within a body-mind-spirit complex, may also be not residing in any body-mind-spirit complex simultaneously or existing simultaneously in other, what you may call, parallel lives. Again, terminology presents some difficulties when speaking of spiritual matters that are not concrete. But if you may, understand that the soul is an eternal being, is always with the higher density, always existing. It, the sixth density higher self, and the seventh density higher self, contains a portion of the soul. There is free will on the part of the soul. If this can make sense to you, my sister, that it may decide to experience life in multitudinous fashion upon earth simultaneously, what you call simultaneity of time upon earth or perhaps in another dimension. It is our desire to attempt to explain that the soul may have certain intentions that it wishes to accomplish within the earth plane, and it decides that one or more body-mind-spirit complexes to which it may lend its soul energy may be the best expression of that ability to carry out that intention. It may elect to do so. However, this is done with consultation with its own guides and spiritual advisors, if you will, before such expansion as described would take place. It may be decided or intended that a particular focus of soul energy within one body-mind-spirit complex at a certain time would be the best way to accomplish a certain intention. We may suggest that in the case of entities upon Earth who may have what you may call a large job to do, may have a higher focus of soul energy within that one body-mind-spirit complex in order to carry out the large tasks for which it has set itself as the goals in that lifetime, if this may help illustrate our point. However, conversely, if an intention is set to express soul energy across more than one body-mind-spirit complex upon Earth in order to experience family love, the simple pleasures of loving and receiving love and raising family, accomplishing the simple pleasures of life, bringing joy to others moment by moment in very simple but loving ways, the accomplishment of such intentions like that are more able to be carried out across one or more entities who have those intentions for their lives. The soul is a powerful being of energy that brings with it love and light in whatever incarnation or embodiment that it selects. And so your previous description, my sister, of the sun with many rays would fit that idea of love and light combined in powerful loving energy ready to accomplish its intentions in various ways. And so therefore that description may be very apt to our discussion. Does this response offer some satisfactory answer to your query, my sister? It does. Thank you so much. And we thank you, my sister, for your most enlightening question. We are those of Quo, and we now take our leave of this instrument at this time and transfer our contact back to the one known as Jim. We are those of Quo. I am Quo and am with this instrument. We would ask if there's a final query at this time. Quo, I often despair that we will be able to help beings reach the harvest and that we will be able to heal Mother Earth. The way things are going, I sometimes wonder if it's better to find a cabin in the woods and just be quiet and manifest love and light in that place alone and not try to help others. So my question is it better to, in this situation that we are in at the current time, is it better to try to help people or to go live in a cabin in the woods and be loving in a private way, or does it matter? I am Quo and I am aware of your query, my brother. This is an interesting query, and that a seeming retiring to the woods in a cabin by oneself could be seen as service to self, but the intention is service to others, whereas the maintaining relationships within the outer world is seen as service to others, if that is the intention. In both cases, the intention is the quality which is of most importance, whereas you intend for your consciousness and the love of the one Creator that flows through your heart to be utilized in whatever manner, then this is the foundation upon which the effort is built. Each is the one Creator, perhaps in a stepped down fashion, but yet the one Creator who has the ability to become that which radiates the love and the light and the healing energy of one Creator to all about one. Whatever one is in a cabin in the woods, in an apartment in a city, it's the same in the sense that you, as the Creator, attempt to utilize your creative energies of love, light, and devotion to service to others in a manner which may be manifested wherever you are located. Each is a part of the one Creator. Mother Earth is a part of the one Creator. Each of your children is a part of the one Creator. There is love in every moment. The love that created the universe around you and all entities within it. This love may be intensified by your efforts, wherever you are located according to your intentions. Thus, there is every hope by the Confederation of Planets in the service of one infinite creator that more and more people upon your planet, as you would call these entities, are willing and able to find the desire and the intention to utilize their connection with the one creator and with the open heart of unconditional love that is potentially within each entity. As more and more people do this, there is a, shall we say, tipping point that is possible to move the mass consciousness, the potential social memory complex of planet Earth, further and further along, or into the fourth density of love and understanding. This is a process which has been going on for many thousands of years upon your planet. The time, as you would call it, of the third density experience is coming to a close. It is not certain as to how long there is before the third density ends, but it is ever possible to begin and continue and achieve the desired results. It is not possible for us to predict the outcome, for upon your planet at this time, as you are aware, there's a great deal of confusion and separation and doubt. So we heartily recommend that wherever you are upon this planet Earth, that you send your love and light that exists in every moment and which moves through your heart from the one creator to the entire planet and its population. For that act itself is that which intensifies each entity's realization, whether subconsciously or consciously, that there is a process of evolution going on, and that each in some fashion can be part of that process. And we encourage each to be a part of that process as well. For each of you is a conscious spiritual seeker of truth that has come to Earth at this time to take part in the process of the evolution of the one infinite creator within each entity on planet Earth and within planet Earth herself. At this time, we shall take leave of this group and of this instrument. We thank you for your conscientiousness, for your desire to serve, for your ability to love, and for being who you are. We are Lozo Quo. We leave you in love and light. Adonai Vasu Boragas. And that concludes this beautiful channeling by Quo. And for those few who ask me every once in a while what Adonai Vasu Boragas means, it just means farewell, my brothers. And so we get a lot of really cool questions and some amazing answers so far in this channeling. The idea that your energy centers can become crystallized, meaning that they're focused and putting out energy in a crystallized manner, a more regular manner, so they become broadcasting stations, and each of your energy centers can be put to this use, and they become crystallized where they're emitting energy on a regular basis based on the prana that is running through your body. And each of these energy centers are areas where they can take in and transmit this love light energy in different ways, shapes, and forms. I love it when they go into detail about the nature of these energy centers, and I found some really interesting ideas that came from that. I also enjoyed the question on the elements, and the implication is that you can utilize these elements by command or by magic or in the ways that they talked about, and you have some level of power and control and energy, almost like magic. It can be used for the purpose of healing. And we get a further expansion in the idea of parallel lives or simultaneous incarnations later on in this lecture. The idea is if you have certain intentions or you have a lot of work to do, that in some cases you do simultaneously incarnate, but in many cases you can have a larger amount of soul energy in a single incarnation. So there are differences in both, and you go to your spirit guides and you discuss this with those guides, and you figure out if it's going to make sense for you to simultaneously incarnate or to incarnate in a single life. And perhaps the number of lives that you're incarnated in, perhaps it reduces your power, or you have less soul energy. I don't know if that quite said that, but the soul is like a sun that's shining from 7th density and 6th density. We now have another channeling that confirms a more advanced understanding of higher self. I mentioned this all the way back in the beginning of my podcast because There's a higher self that's in 6th density, which knows about your particular life and your particular timeline and incarnation. And then there's like a quantum higher self, or the 7th density higher self, which kind of gathers up all the parallel reality selves. And from this place, your true soul exists. And here, Quo differentiates the spirit, which is part of the mind-body-spirit complex, from the soul. And from this, we can get the idea that the soul is not just the spirit, it is more. And that there's a portion of you that always exists in this 6th or 7th density. Very much like somebody that's playing a game and they're sitting in their house on the couch with their virtual reality headset, and then they take off the headset and they're still in their house. So in many ways, it sort of goes along with the idea of some sort of advanced simulation, and perhaps the player of the game is the soul that's in the 7th density. That's at least how I can see it. Also, we have a description of what happens in death in the 4th, 5th, and 6th densities. And it is not death like we experience in 3rd density, where they move on from the vehicle. The vehicle is sort of transformed and the light changes. I think that there's some complexities to this which they admit they can't fully explain, and I believe that it has something to do with the sacred geometry of that light body. And they describe it as becoming more transparent. So I guess we're fading away in light terms, but we enter into these different regions and realms of higher existence. So tell me your favorite question. This is a very recent channeling, and we have an idea that we're still in it with this harvest, and we're not necessarily doing that well. And there's lots of confusion on this planet. And we have this wonderful confirmation here that you can be of service. If you're alone in a cabin in the woods, that your intention is the key to your service. And if you sit in meditation for 4 hours a day, transmitting love and light to the planet, you may be doing amazing amounts of service that you wouldn't be doing if you went out and tried to help others in a physical way. It's a question I've had. Can I go out to my cabin and just sit there and broadcast love and light, and am I doing service? And you can. And it doesn't matter if you're in a cabin or where you're at, if you're by yourself or what you're doing, you can be of service. We have confirmation of this from Quo here, that we can be of service by taking in this prana, which is mentioned earlier in the channeling, and transmitting this love light out into the world as we raise our energy centers and raise our energy and our power. This love light that we're transforming literally is transforming 3rd density reality all around us. We're changing the world. We can solve problems. We can overcome issues. And the more we broadcast and transmit this love, we see transformations all over the world. And we can do this, and we can be of service when we become good meditators. And in the silence, we learn how to broadcast this love light. And it's something I will do no matter where or what I'm doing. I will always try to dedicate some time every day to broadcasting love light to the world in peace and love. You can do it for a minute, and you can make a difference. Let me know your favorite part of this particular channeling. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. You can find all the channelings for Quo at llresearch.org. You might want to check out my art sometime. I really love it. You can find it at www.newearth.art. And welcome to the Reality Revolution.